Okay. Oh, I didn't do number of MRs yet. Hang on. We can learn together. As it slowly renders. Try the other page.
Are those birds in the background, Greg?
I was wondering if people could hear that. Yes, we have chickens now. And they are in the office where it is warm. Yes, not chickens, chicks. And yeah, I'll post a picture in the database channel after this meeting. But one of them incessantly just pecks at the crate that it's in all day. So if you hear a constant tapping sound, it's that one stupid bird that just smashes its face up against the crate nonstop all day long. So it'll be kicked out of the office soon enough. And we also have a cat that just sits there and stares at the crate. It's not smart enough to look over the crate and at the birds. It's just staring at the crate because it's making noise. So, all right. So we have 8 MRs so far for the month. Nice work.
That's one way to, I guess, solve the egg shortage for ourselves.
Exactly. Well, we have, I mean, it's a lot of downtime, right? And my daughter's been wanting chickens for a long time. So, good time to do it. All right, OKR review. So I think both of these OKRs were created before Giannis and Pat were on the team. So this is probably the first time you've seen these. From the hit the hiring target and create onboarding plan, we'll close this one out at 100% easily. Giannis already has some ideas on how to update the template, the onboarding template for hiring more folks. So thank you for that. And we hit it by hiring Giannis and Pat actually for the quarter. So we did good. And then the other one was some level of implementation for partitioning. So an MVC. This was written, I think, before we had the timeline for the .com rollout. So we might have to change the wording a bit to make sure that it properly reflects where we are, because we can't really roll this out on .com until the Postgres 11 upgrade is done, and that might not happen before this quarter is out. So we'll keep working on that one. Any questions on OKRs, since it's fairly new for folks? Next time when we create them, it'll be collaborative since you're all here and on board now. One of the things that we'll do for next one is a new thing that we're doing across the company for iteration training. So it's a fairly simple template for now. You can read it. It's just a bunch of information to read and some things to think about as you're going through issues and planning with as a team, and how to iterate and work on the smallest thing possible. So that'll be one of our OKRs for next quarter, and then we'll work on the other 1 or 2 as a team.
Do we know when that is planned? Because right now we plan to remove support for PG 9 and 10 in May 22nd.
Yeah. So the rollout is upgrade on .com is supposed to happen this month, right? They have done a test or 2 on staging so far. I'm not sure the exact date when it's going to go on production. Andreas, do you off the top of your head?
No, I know we already did it on staging last week. I haven't seen a date yet for production.
Okay, cool. But gosh, I was just getting concerned if we're going to miss this quarter, it's going to put us into May, which then starts making me uncomfortable about missing 13.0 because .com can't make it, which is should be unfortunate.
Well, 13.0 it actually goes into June, right? Because we're on 12.10 now. It ends mid-May. 13.0.
There's no 12.11, so 13.0 is May 22nd.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. This milestone ends in a week. Yep. So, no, I just meant, sorry, the partitioning MVC might not make it by the end of this quarter.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, it's not.
Thank
sorry,
you.
it's not the upgrade. And then
And the
go ahead, Andres.
quarter ends end of April as well, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Because there is still a lot of work that we need to do for partitioning. We're at the beginning of tackling that only. So it's pretty sure not going to make the quarter.
Yep. And then carry this over. Josh, you want to talk about the PM role?
Oh yeah, thanks for copying over, Craig. Yeah, so essentially, as some of you may have seen, and if not, thanks Craig for linking to Sid's announcement. We have decided to slow down hiring for across the company due to the essentially unknown economic impact to our business of the ongoing pandemic. And so while we are hiring for some highly critical roles, that means that we are putting the pause button on roles that don't meet that really high threshold, of which the memory and database PM is one of them. And so for now, I will be the PM for the foreseeable future. And hopefully once we get clarity, once we get a few months into some of this new normal for a while and get a sense of how much impact there is to our business, as well as how long this might go on for, then we can, get a better handle on kind of how long this will happen. But hopefully we can reopen it soon. We have some good candidates in the pipeline, and hopefully we can reactivate and get engaged soon. But again, in the interim, I'll be PM, so feel free to keep on pinging me away on all database issues. Yeah. And yeah, Craig, you have a good point there as well.
Yeah, so we're frozen on team members too. So I feel really lucky that we got Pat and Giannis in, but this is the size of the team for now. So we had 2 open headcount, and those are paused for the time being too. Again, as Josh said, until we figure out what the overall impact is going to be, and we can reprioritize as we come out of this. So this is the team, but as Andreas said in our team retro, we've got a strong team. We're making some headway and some great momentum, and having the expanded number of database maintainers is going to help greatly as well. So while hiring would have been great, I feel really good about the team we have now. So any questions on any of that? Go ahead,
does it have a direct impact on the prioritization for the topics that we're already working on? Knowing that we're not going to hire more engineers.
I don't think it has an impact on the prioritization. I mean, sharding and partitioning are our number 2 and number 1 priorities if I do it in the right order. It might certainly have an effect on how fast we can deliver, right? Having a smaller team, we plan on having a bigger team throughout the year because it's going to take a while to actually fully implement sharding. But I don't think it impacts priorities unless, Josh, you have a different opinion.
No, I think our priorities are the most important ones. We obviously want to make sure that we continue to make sure we can scale our database. So if there are other things that we should be doing that are more important, let's talk about them. But I think right now they seem to still be the most important things. And so we'll keep on executing. We are, the product management team is in conjunction with the engineering managers, we'll start to look at what our plans were for the year, kind of as we go, and then determine what, if anything, we should be clear to the business on that will likely not make it that we thought would. And that way we're all clear on where we end up. And in some cases, we can then determine whether we should try to do a global optimization, because there are some teams, to some degree, there was like a reshuffling. We opened up a bunch of roles, people moved around. And then we kind of think, pause things. And the question is what are the impacts to the business of the current structure? And then does that make sense from a global optimization standpoint? Like, are we still allocated intelligently or the best way we possibly can be? So, I think we don't want to ask anyone to do a thing they don't want to do, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that we just take a look at like, what are we investing in, and is that the right investment strategy for our sort of current situation? So I don't expect any changes to the database team. It's really important. It's one of our top themes for the year of enterprise readiness. So I don't expect any changes to the database team. the conversation there would be, should we really kind of push hard to try and find 2 more people or not? But that's kind of the next action item from here, I think, as far as the hiring slowdown.
Yeah, and Josh, I think while you were talking through this, I thought copying over your 13.0 performance NPS feedback from the memory team meeting was good to bring in here if you want to give a quick overview.
Oh yeah, thanks. So just to ask the last one, if you have concerns about our ability to achieve our our kind of near-term goals with the current staffing levels, let me know. That's a good conversation to have. But moving on to number 2 here, we did do an NPS survey. So if you weren't familiar with NPS, it's essentially a way to survey your users. You've probably filled out a number of NPS surveys in the past. It is the classic rate your experience on a 1 to 10 scale, with I believe 1 through 6 being detractors, 7 to 8 being neutral, and 9 to 10 being, I forget the term, but the positive one. And you basically subtract the negatives from the positives, and then you end up with like what your score is. We have a 21, which isn't too bad. Don't compare it with other companies because many companies mislead on their publicly stated NPS numbers. So don't compare them. But we completed the survey. The results are in that presentation. The one outcome was that of the detractors who left comments, the most frequently cited reason for their score was performance, and that they felt that GitLab was slow. So I think the question to this team is, and the memory team, as well as also infrastructure, is what do we think we can do to sort of turn that around? And obviously we're working on a number of things, partitioning and PG11 and a number of other improvements to our queries and things like that. But I think in my mind, 2 questions are, do we have the visibility we need to know what the performance slowdowns are? Should we invest more into observation? And 2, are we still focused on the highest ROI things to drive performance forward? So I think those are the 2 questions. But I wanted to also make the team aware of sort of what the data was coming back from our NPS survey as well. We think it's .com users, but we did survey any paid user, so it could be anyone.
Andreas, you linked this one here. You think this has to do with this will impact performance?
Yeah, it's not directly about performance, but I started to gather issues that we should be tackling to reduce the size and growth of the database. And of course, that also goes for scalability and performance in a sense. I think this is something that we've been not doing enough of in the past. Is we're talking about partitioning and sharding, and that's all good strategies. And this is surely going to help us, but we also have different problems that we can't all fix with sharding or partitioning. And some of these are very basic, and sometimes it's just really about using a feature that we already have and use that on GitLab.com. It's the first example on that list. And other examples include like deciding retention strategies. So at the moment we keep all the CI data forever, basically. And of course that's growing over time, and that makes our site slow in some aspects. I just wanted to point that out, and I think we should invest more into finding those problems and figuring out if how we can solve that, if that's on our team or if maybe we coordinate with another team. But there is more work like this that we can do to help the performance of the site.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we have movement on the external the merge request storage, the diffs. So hopefully that'll help. But no, that's a great point that we should try and drive forward.
I think we're at what, 3% of migration on the external storage, Andreas, after multiple days.
Take a while.
Okay. So yeah, something we can continue to talk about going forward.
I mean, ultimately, I think it boils down to the question: do we want to invest into the current solution that we have and invest into the database that we're already running, that is Postgres? Or do we want to invest everything into a sharding solution that we may pick up in a few years or so, and bet on that? But I think the growth that we're seeing currently on GitLab.com particularly is we can't neglect that, right? And this is the solution that we have, and there are a lot of problems with that solution. And we can also try to fix them, or perhaps we should try to fix them.
Some of those can be parallel efforts, right? Like the CI builds, we can find a good retention strategy to buy us time now. And I mean, we need retention strategies regardless. The sharding and partitioning, I know we're still in exploratory stage, but I don't know, I can't think of an alternative right now. And how much time it would take to find an alternative, then to migrate to that. It seems like that would be super expensive. So I think we're on the right path. I think you're right. We should solve some of the immediate problems that we have while we're moving forward with partitioning and sharding. So I think we're doing the right things right now. Speaking of, that's a good segue, database strategy. So there was an issue that was brought up about, let's link into it. What is our database strategy? And we need to document it and I guess share it out with the rest of the engineering org. It was linked to this issue. So the origins of this was that a feature was being considered with a different data store other than PostgreSQL, and it was a fleeting conversation about talking about a NoSQL database or some other storage strategy, and it was quickly changed direction. So yeah, we need to stick with PostgreSQL. And the question about single data store, what does that mean? Single application. So the request was that we publish a database strategy with guidance about when these questions or decisions come up. I put together an MR. It's definitely a work in progress. I've asked for some feedback to make sure we're heading in the right direction. Christopher is looking at it now. He's going to try and get Sid's feedback, but everybody's feedback's welcome. So please take a look and add your feedback to this one. All right. So anybody have any work items they want to talk about? We have about 5 minutes left of scheduled time. We can run through everybody's work if needed. Some milestone. We have the working group coming up next. I'm sure they're going to ask. So we'll talk about Citus and where we are with licensing. I don't know if everybody's caught up on that one, but enterprise licensing seems like a non-starter. If they go with the per node licensing, it's going to be over $1 million a year. They do have some wording on their site about a site license. I'm not sure what that means. I'm happy to ask them about it, but it seems like enterprise is too expensive. I guess the one question I had along the lines of Citus was, Pat, were you able to make any progress on getting a data set import working with Nelia?
No, the data sets she has are, they're mostly just like a single large project. They're not really what we need, which would be, really a full site kind of thing. They do have scripts to populate, but it uses the API, which we don't have set up on our cluster to populate. So I think really, I feel like we probably need a better strategy, which is something, production data set that we can anonymize, kind of build on demand, that we can load. I just don't know that there's enough real data out there that we can realistically test. And not just for Citus, but just partitioning, like anything going forward. Right now we're kind of using production backups, which is not ideal. We probably should not be doing that.
Yeah, we should not be doing that.
A solution for that is, take the production data, clean it in some way so that we can use it safely and be able to reload that on demand for testing.
And that would help us in so many other places as well. We used to have a anonymization script maybe 2 years ago for staging. That's when we created staging. That got rid of all the relevant data. But that is obviously broken. It hasn't been maintained at all. and getting that back, it would really help us in many places. Also, infrastructure is looking to get these test data sets, and we can't do that because it has all the customer information, and there's a high risk from that. Whenever we try to use something like this, production data was always a question with security, and we ended up saying that, oh, we don't have this anonymization script anymore. That's why we can't do it. So maybe perhaps we should get that back, and work on a way to anonymize the data that we have.
Seems like, I don't know, is that even a realistic undertaking for a short time frame? Is there a short path to get a realistic test data set for the Citus cluster? Or are we just kind of hosed at the moment?
I mean, we could, I think we could use the script that they have built that creates, provides some testing. It creates projects, or creates like a group and then some projects in a group, and then kind of down the chain from there. Have to run it somewhere else, or have it, the application that we can build something. But I think still whatever we're looking at generating it's just not really on the volume of what probably we want to test using Citus. Like if we're only using a database that's 10th the size of production, is that really a meaningful test at that point? Especially when we're really testing for future growth of 10x or something, using a 500 gig database, even which is pretty large, is still not really the kind of volume of what we would want for Citus to really vet that it's going to support scaling needs.
I wonder if Citus has like a sandbox, because we would need the infrastructure too to be able to support, like if we had a production size, or do we have the infrastructure to be able to set up a production size copy?
I mean, so that cluster that I built right now is pretty small because I was really just, getting it running and making sure that it would work. But we can easily scale those machines up, add more space and things to a larger size if we have bigger data to test.
Okay. So I'm not sure what to do next. What do we need to do next as far as, do we need to follow up with Nelia about the upper size limit we can get from those, from the test set that she can create?
Well,
what's the best next step?
Yeah, the pre-populated test set she has, I don't think will be useful because they would look like they're a single project. There's one for GitLab, there's one for Linux. It's not really helpful. The script does generate, we could write a script around their script to generate sort of multiple groups then would kind of more realistically model the data. That is, if we're looking for something to do quickly, that is, probably going to be the quickest route, I would guess. I would need to be able to to run that script against the API and generate something, and then do like a PG dump or something and put it on this server where we can load it.
Okay. Do you want to follow up on that, Pat, about what we can do to build out that test set with multiple projects?
Sure.
Okay. All right, we got about 4 minutes till I have to jump to the next meeting. Any other topics we want to cover this week? All right, we'll take that as a no. All right, thanks everybody.